Islam, 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 and welcome to Moore's Heritage and History School. This is your host, Annie L., along with my co-host, Ms. Raheem Alex L.
Islam, peace and love, Moors, peace and love on the E, everybody on the line. Islam.
And Cujo Adwa L.
Islam, peace and love, Mars.
Love, Cujo.
What up, Ms.? Peace, Anaida.
Islam, and I'm just waiting for Roz to call in.
For sure.
Still waiting for Roz.
Oh, word. She not on?
Wait. I'm waiting for her to call in right now. Right now.
The line's probably full. She could I can't get you. Unless she got the secret line.
All right, I'm going to get started. Hold on. Hang on a minute. Well, let me get started while I wait. Let's see. Hold on a minute. Well, let me get started. I'll get her in a minute. Welcome to Moore's Heritage and History School. Once again, this is your host, Annie L., along with Ms. Raheem Alex L. and Cujo Adwa L. I want to send a big shout-out to our internet listeners. The chat room is open. Thank you so much for joining us each week and lending us your energy. Big shout out to our family listening over there in Great Britain. Cujo dropped out. Oh my goodness. Family listening over. Oh wow. I'm gonna have to figure out where he disappeared. Well, here's Roz. Cujo dropped out and Roz dropped in. Here's Roz. Roz?
Islam, I'm here. Yes,
Islam.
Islam, peace and love. What an evening already.
I know. We got Roz and lost Cujo, so...
Well, we can probably connect Cujo back in somehow.
Yeah. I don't know how to... This is something else. He got booted off. I just got dropped. Well, there's Cujo. He just texted me that he just got dropped. All right. Let me see. If I can
call him because he drops off at 11:30 anyway.
Yes.
Well, you can dial on the system.
Telling you, boy, this is something else. I'm trying to get the show started. And everybody's dropping. All right, let's see if we got him back. Uh-oh. 1 minute. I think we didn't get him back. All right, I'm not seeing him. Well, let me finish starting the show, and then I can figure out how to get Cujo back in. Big shout out to our family listening over in Great Britain. South Africa, Japan, the Netherlands, the Philippines. Of course, you know, all of these are corporations. They're not really in these areas because those are corporations. So let me rephrase. Big shout out to our family near Great Britain, near South Africa, near Japan, near the Netherlands, near Philippines, as well as near Mexico, near Cuba, near Venezuela, Brazil, Islam. Thank you so much for listening. And a big shout out to our callers. Islam, Islam, Islam. Thank you so much for calling in each week, filling up the call lines before the show even begins. Islam. All right. Also, let's see. I'm so not even prepared. Doing a lot of stuff at the last minute, but I'm good. Each week we make a public record of Moors who have been kidnapped by these employees of the various corporations, county corporations disguised as government. These family members are being kidnapped straight off the street. They're being held for income, a demand of income, as well as they are receiving income fraudulently for the so-called keeping of the family, which is absolute human trafficking. So we make an announcement each week, and if we have the county corporation, we make mention of that. And if we do not, we just make mention of the union state that the corporation is attached to, so to speak, who, as a union state, is obligated to protect all people from foreign and domestic invasion. So we start out with our sister Abkare Bay, kidnapped through a joint venture between Memphis and Shelby Corporation under the purview of Tennessee, Daoud Il under the purview of Arkansas, Amir Moslamin Il, Kusu Ra Kush Bay under the purview of Missouri, Asar Fatah Amin Ra Bay under the purview of Ohio, Jeremy Taylor Il, Terry Thorne Bay, Jamie Cal Brooks Bay, Joseph Kanaday Il, Kushamir Bunch Il, Emmanuel Billings Bay, Yasin Kali Kalamin Il, and Michael Curry Bay, all being held under the purview of North Carolina, Noble Crisco Il under the purview of New Jersey, Messiah Aziz Il and Crystal Il, both kidnapped through a joint venture between Mercer, Freehold, and Trenton Corporation under the purview of New Jersey, Eldridge Teron Fisher Il and Marquis Sevion Il under the purview of Indiana, Solomon Il Bay and Mumi Abu Bay under the purview of Texas, William Barrett Il under the purview of Virginia, Bomani Abidwil Il, kidnapped by the Chesapeake Corporation under the purview of Virginia, Che Bay under the purview of West Virginia, Thomas Lee Bay under the purview of California, Victor Eduardo Juarez L., kidnapped by Harlem Corporation under the purview of Georgia, Patricia Bay and her baby, as well as Malik Ilbay, all three kidnapped by Atlantic Corporation under the purview of New Jersey, and Danielle Nayfier Cox Ill, kidnapped through a joint venture between Allegheny and Pittsburgh Corporation under the purview of Pennsylvania. All right, those are our Moors that have been kidnapped and are being held hostage. And let's see if we got Cujo back. Nope, not yet, but that's all right. We're going to begin our subject of today's broadcast. today's broadcast, I think that was everything I was supposed to do. All right. Today's broadcast is entitled Counties, Cities, Towns, Townships, Boroughs, and the Internal Revenue Service Corporation. What is their relationship? As a people, Moors and other citizens, our issue is identifying the parties who are attacking us. You will find that at first glance, it appears that there is no flesh and blood being that is identified. Only the corporation, which is a fiction/construct that people operate through, that is attacking the people on a whole. What is our remedy? The supreme law of the land, the American Constitution, 1791. Not statutes, not codes, not ordinances, not UCC. All these take a back seat to the American Constitution, 1791, and you must know this. Case law Marbury versus Madison, the Constitution of these United States is the supreme law of the land. Any law that is repugnant to the Constitution is null and void. If I can just get you to thinking, you free yourself. Prophet Noble Jew Ali. Now, I said all of that to say that when we look at, what's going on, we have to know. Oh, wait a minute. Here he is. Islam, is that you, Cujo?
Islam.
All right. Everyone is here. All right.
Yeah.
Great. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Wonderful. I can continue. So what we have to know as a people is who is attacking us exactly. And it's a challenge because we get attacked from so many different directions. And there's corporations within corporations within corporations. But let's look at this. The Internal Revenue Service will attack people, and they do an individual attack, but then they'll do something like they'll send a notice out, and I want everybody to be clear. I said they will send a notice out, not anything lawful, but a notice, because their intent is to extort. Last year around April, I'm still trying to find the show, we talked about extort and extortion. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we gave the definition of extortion straight out of the Black's Law 4th edition dictionary. I want to read a few of them. And as I read them, I just want you to think about the Internal Revenue Service and what is it exactly that they do. But I also want you to keep in mind exactly who they are and who they are not. All right? So out of the Black's Law Dictionary, under the definition of extort, to compel or coerce as a confession or information by any means serving to overcome one's power of resistance or making the confession or admission involuntary. To gain by wrongful method, to obtain in an unlawful manner, to compel payment by means of threat of injury to person, property, or reputation. That sounds like the Internal Revenue Service right there. To take from unlawfully, to exact something wrongfully by threat or putting in fear. To wrest from, to exact, to take under a claim of protection. The natural meaning of the word extort is to obtain money or other valuable things either by compulsion, by actual force, or by the force of motives applied to the will and often more overpowering and irresistible than physical force. Now we have the definition of extortion, which is lengthy, but I'm not going to read all of them. Unlawful obtaining of money from another. It has also been defined as corrupt demanding or receiving by a person in office of a fee for services which should be performed gratuitously, or where compensation is permissible of a larger fee than the law justifies or a fee not due. Exaction of money by reason of oppressive conditions or circumstances. Obtaining of property from another with his consent induced by wrongful use of force or fear or under color of official right. Obtaining of property of another by threats to injure him and to destroy his property. Taking or obtaining of anything from another by means of illegal compulsion or oppressive exaction, whether by an officer or otherwise. Now, there's a lot more. There's like almost a whole page more, but I think you get the gist of it. The actions of the Internal Revenue Service all fall under the category of extortion or extort. Why is that? We really, and I know it's challenging dealing with the Internal Revenue Service because, it's only now that many of us are becoming aware that we really and truly have been gifting this finance, our compensation, our property, because that's what it is. We have to use the right words when we're talking about this. Once you exchange your energy for compensation, that becomes your private property. So when somebody endeavors to steal it through I'm probably making up a new word, extortive measures or through extortion, that's called theft. All right. Now, one of the things that the Internal Revenue Service will do is they will put into the county corporation a notice regarding your private.
I'm trying to put this document.
Hello? Roz?
Yes, Mom. I apologize.
All right. What they will do is they will submit. Now look at the chain of events. In a lot of cases, if you're voluntarily, not voluntarily, if you have entered into a contractual obligation, or I should say a mutual agreement with a company to exchange your energy for an agreed compensation, that is not taxable. That is not considered income, and there is case law that supports that. And I believe I have that case law in the correcting the position of the IRS, and I'll find it in a minute. But there is case law that says that your compensation cannot be taxed because that's a constitutionally secured right. It cannot be taxed. Now, I know I hear everybody saying, but they're doing it anyway. They are doing it anyway. But here's the thing. We can only fight one battle at a time. And so what that means is we have to put certain things on our to-do list, because you don't want to have a lot of things juggling at the same time, because it will overwhelm you. You won't be able to keep up. Trust me, you will not. And if you receive anything, you have to analyze it, and in that analyzing, you have to also keep in mind that you need to respond within 3 days. All right? So you have to put certain things on a to-do list. Remember now, fraud has no statute of limitations, so it's not like it's gone forever. You just need to put it on the back burner, all right? So this Internal Revenue Service, they will compel the person that you have a contractual agreement with. They come in as a third-party interloper that you do not have a contract with. Now, some people might be saying, oh, well, I filled out that W-4 form, but here's the thing. The W-4 form was not explained to you. It was given to you, and you were told to complete it. And in some cases, if you do not complete it, they will steal your property without it, which means now they don't have any kind of contractual obligation between you and them. But even if they allege to have this W-4, that is not a verifiable documentation of a contract. It doesn't say it's a contract. It says that it is a form of a certificate. So we need to go and analyze the document. And really what we have to do is just in an intelligent tone, just tell these employers that you're non-obligatory because you're not a corporation. You can even give verifiable, lawful documentation to substantiate this. Internal Revenue Service, is one of many corporations that seek to injure the people under the guise of being government, and they are not. Now, what's interesting is the Internal Revenue Service and the county corporation, they have a relationship. What becomes suspicious is many of the people are compelled to give the county corporation under the guise of providing some type of service. No one discloses what these services are, but the presumption is that you are paying for protection. Sounds gangster to me, all right? You're giving this income to the county corporation, and they are supposed to be protecting you. And you don't have a choice. That's racketeering right there, another form of extortion. They're saying you have to give us either income under the guise of a tax so that we can provide you with an alleged service, and some of this alleged service is the protection of the police, but the police are there to protect the corporation, not you. So that's kind of muddy. But I'm saying this so that you can see the scam. All right? So you're paying these county corporations some income for a protection, a service. But yet, a corporation like the Internal Revenue Service can come in, and that same county corporation will give up your private and confidential information to an outside party called the Internal Revenue Service and leave you open and steal your personal property in one way or another and send it over to the Internal Revenue Service, this from a county corporation that you are paying to protect you. Now, we don't know what the county corporation's function really is. It's very clear that it's not clear, because I know a lot of people think that they are giving the county corporation some income for a service, but nobody knows what the service is. In one way or another, you are giving these county corporations income. And maybe you might not know how they are stealing from you, but they are, because they have to. Now, they might be stealing from you outright, or they might be stealing from you under the guise of traffic. But any way you cut it, they are stealing from you. They're stealing your energy. They're threatening you. All of this is done under threat, duress, and coercion, which throws the Internal Revenue Service tactics out the window, like right away. We look at this, we have to look at this. The other part of this is the Internal Revenue Service will send a notice. I'm putting heavy emphasis on the word notice. All right? They're sending a notice to the county clerk. Now, this notice is interpreted as a lien. And the lien is always submitted fraudulently, because every single lien must have a sworn affidavit substantiating the claim. Now, also in law, if you enter into an agreement with someone and somebody does not meet their agreement, you can impose a lien, and according to the law, not only, first and foremost, the lien must have a sworn affidavit. Number one, the lien is a claim. The claim can be challenged. All right? That's first and foremost. That's the purpose of the lien. The lien is putting a claim on a national level, all right? It's saying we entered into this agreement, you said you was going to do X, Y, Z, you didn't do X. Or you did Y, Z, but you did X, Y, and not Z, or you didn't do any of that. And so I am calling you to account. Now, what you have to do is you have to submit a counterclaim, sworn affidavit, counterclaim, all right? And that has to be put, and this is supposed to be done this is actually supposed to be done, let me think. Well, you would submit, wherever that claim has been lodged, you would submit the counterclaim. Now, what's supposed to happen is it then goes into, if your counterclaim rebuts or refutes this claim that was put in, then they have to take it down. But at the very least, all parties must produce substantiated documentation to support the claim. So before you can even rebut the claim, you have to first see the sworn affidavit so that you can rebut it. All right? Then, now that's one option. The second option is you can bring them into a lawful court. But I wouldn't do that prematurely. Again, you have to see the claim in order to bring them into a lawful court. But here's the kicker. If there is no sworn affidavit, that is reason to bring all parties, including the clerk, into a local court, because you cannot put in a lien on the record without a sworn affidavit. And what's interesting about this is a lot of Moors have been getting brought into these, so-called courts because they were putting liens out there without the sworn affidavit. Talk about the pot calling the kettle black, right? So that's the second thing. Now, the third thing when a lien is presented, a claim, is you can just simply pay it. But those are the only three options that you have. But all of this is done based on the premise that there is a sworn affidavit, because you got to know what is the claim based on. What is the lien based on? Where is the mutual contractual agreement between the parties that you reneged on? It has to be put on the record. It has to be part of the record. It has to be part of the lien. And without it, that is fraud. Now, when it comes to the Internal Revenue Service, there was a case law in 2014, and I think that's what I was looking for, but there was, I think it was either 2014, 2015. I want to say it was more 2000. No, I think it was 2014, 2015. I'm going to find it before the broadcast ends. But it was a case law that said that all Internal Revenue Service employees must sign wet ink signature in any claim that they are presenting to the people. And I'm going to find it and get the exact wording, because I remember seeing that, and I was like, wow, that was a huge hit for the Internal Revenue Service. But, of course, a lot of people, they don't know about that, as we don't know about a lot of things. I mean, they're counting on us, literally. They're counting on the people not doing any researching, not doing any reasonable analysis, nothing. They're counting on this. And that's why they do the things that they do. I want to also, let's see. I want to also make a mention of a case law. Actually, it's not even a case law. It's actually in, what is it? Just lost my train of thought. Yes. In the United States Codes, which is an interesting thing, in Title 12, Section 411, as well as in, I want to say Title 8, or Title 18, Section 8, it identifies Federal Reserve notes as obligations of the United States. Now, then in Title 31, Section 3142, obligations of the United States are exempt from taxation. So all of this taxing, now I mean, that's just some food for thought. I wouldn't necessarily use that as my primary claim. I would go into the fact that it's a matter of record that the Internal Revenue Service is not an agency of the federal government. Therefore, they are a private foreign corporation under the name of the Internal Revenue Service Corporation, and they are not positive law at all. I mean, with all of this information, you would think that the people, this is our challenge right here. I mean, I just hate to say it. Our challenge is that we, the people, individually, we're the ones that's going to have to sue these corporations to get them off of the vein, right? We're the ones. Because if we look to any Congress, you know, they're having congressional hearings still right now about the improprieties of the Internal Revenue Service, and they're still moving along doing what they have been doing. They might not be as aggressive as they used to be because they're under the spotlight, but they're still doing these things. Why? Because nobody, and I'm just making the claim, I could be absolutely wrong, but no one has sued them. No one. No, the people. Look, they're stealing from the people, and the people, no people have sued them yet. They're colluding with the corporations, the county corporations, you know, and no people have sued the county corporations yet. We got the county corporations hindering our right to travel so that, you know, we're just about hibernating in our homes because we don't dare get on the roadways to travel because they will accost us, and we haven't sued them. All of these corporations do what they do because the people, Moors, and those other citizens, those modern Europeans out there listening, they're doing this because we won't sue them. And then we got to be absolutely clear. When we do come to sue them, it's got to be 1,000% constitutionally based. You cannot walk in there talking about commerce, because commerce implies that there is some contractual obligation between you and the other party. It is all constitutional violation, every bit of it. And we have all the ammunition. I mean, they just hand it to us on a silver platter. And all of us is, you know, we need to start suing so that our liberties can be released. You know, and we you know, we're like we're operating as though it's like the Constitution is on the first floor and the people are on the 122nd floor. Now on the 121st floor is statutes, ordinance codes, UCCs, and this is all the people can see. So I guess the people got to come down out of the clouds, get back down to the first floor where we belong, and get back into that American Constitution, 1791. Because when I read the prophet's words, he said enforce the Constitution. He never said enforce statutes. He never said enforce ordinances. He never said enforce codes. And he never said enforce UCCs, because all of those things have a pre-existing contractual obligation called the American Constitution. And so that is our security, that is our remedy, that is our protection, and it's all right there. And if we can just keep in our minds, and I know it's going to take us a little bit of time to just get it in our heads that we're always dealing with a corporation. I don't care who is coming at you. It is a corporation. It's people operating through a corporation, because these people are a little scared of rats and they can't show their face. And so they hide behind these corporations, which are nothing more than fiction. Now, in law, a corporation cannot enter into a contract with a flesh and blood being, and I know I hear some more out there cackling about, well, you know, they got our names in all caps, so we're a corporation. You can claim that if you want to, but I know that if they take my family's intellectual property and alter it, that's a copyright infraction. That's not me being a corporation, okay? But that's another story. That's another suit, all right? Right now, my issue is my liberties need to be released. And so in order for me to get my liberties released on this continent, The supreme law of the land has to be used, and that's the American Constitution, and it's all laid out there. It's all laid out there for all of us because the Constitution was written, corporations in their place to keep them off the vein of the people so that the people can be free. And so we got to really dig in and get some meat out of this Constitution and take a bite out of crime. Islam.
Oh, wow, that was Islam to that. I just want bite out of crime. Oh, my God, we got to get a new name. You're not McGruff. We got to get a new name for the McGruff dog taking a bite out of crime. I just got to add this. All right, that was powerful. What I like, because you and I talked about this earlier, and also Liz, what we were talking about, it's so interesting, we were talking about people who come in on the first degree, the first floor, and they want to go straight to the 36th degree. You know what I mean? And they haven't gotten yes, right? There's a movie or something that has something like that, right? And yeah. And what you
Shaolin
just said.
Temple.
What's it called?
Shaolin Temple.
Shaolin Temple. The guy you say he comes in on the first floor. He wants to go straight to knowing everything, and he wants to get up there, and then he busts through up there, and what they're doing up on the 36th, the high temple, or the high degree, is meditating. And he disturbs all of them. And that's how it is with some people who come in and they want to jump straight to the 36th floor. They haven't degree, let's call it 36th degree, that's a 9 anyway, but they haven't gone through the first yet. And so what you just said is that that which protects us is on the base. It's so beautiful the way you said that. It's on the base. It's the primary. It's the elementary. It's to enforce the Constitution that protects, which is based in common law, which is based in divine law, really, as well, you know, if you really study it. And so people are leaving that behind because they want to get up to the like you said, the 6th floor or whatever the floor, 7th floor, but their protections are, they left them behind on the first floor. They dangled the carrot and said, oh, come get this, come get this. And the further and further away you get from primary, elementary, initiate stuff, the further away you, the more you go into what they put before you, which is, as you said, stuff that's not even law. So that is such a perfect explanation. That's so, wow, how applicable. But I wanted to say this. On our About Taxes page, all right, there's a chock full of information. However, if you don't get the concept as what you're saying as who you're dealing with, in other words, if you don't know that you're not dealing with, that the IRS is not government or whatever like that, then, or if you don't know what your status is, then you don't know how it applies. For instance, if I may for just a second here, you open up the page, and on the right-hand side there's some quotes from people testifying under oath. And these are all quotes. We've got some new ones now. It says, if no information in return is filed, the Internal Revenue Service cannot assess you. Our tax system is based upon voluntary assessment and payment, not upon distraint. Our tax system is based on individual self-assessment and voluntary compliance. The United States has a system of taxation by confession. That's not enough to let you know what's going on. But and then it says, from the Constitution for the United States of America, Article 1, Section 8, right, Clause 1, 181 is what that comes to. The Congress shall have power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excises, to pay the debt and provide for the common defense and general welfare of the United States. Wait a minute. You just said that the Federal Reserve notes, which is right in the IRS book, what is it called? Straight the IRS. What is the book called, Amy? I can't even remember.
Oh, correcting the position of the IRS.
Correcting the position of the IRS. That book. It's right in there in the centerfold. You're dealing with that section title, I believe it's Section 411, where what you said earlier is it clearly says that the Federal Reserve notes are debt notes for them and cannot be taxed. So they can't really tax you asking you to use those to pay. And also, they can't tax those Federal Reserve notes. And so right there it says to pay the debts. Well, it's not your debt, Morris. It's not yours. So it says, right, but all duties, imposts, and excises shall be uniform throughout the United States. If there was a tax, it still don't apply to you. And now this one, I got to say this one because this one applies to when you go to stores and they talk about taxes, state taxes, and want the ST form and all that stuff, right? It says here, after reading that, Section 8, Clause 181, then in the, what was it called, the statutes at large, where they were forming all of the articles in the Constitution, it says to clear it up under Ibbick Gibbons versus Ogden-Wheat, 1-5, condition Rep. 562. It's right on the site. Persons, now check this out, persons are not the subjects of commerce. And so I'm bringing that up because you had mentioned that a lot of Moors are going around with commerce admitting that there is some sort of agreement that doesn't exist. Yep. And they have made contracts where contracts did not exist before. And without the contract, the original contract, like you were saying, they can't even put a lien. But they're going to go lien everybody. So it doesn't understand what it really means. So it says persons are not the subjects of commerce and not being imported goods. That means persons are not imported goods. They do not fall within the meaning founded upon the Constitution, back to the Constitution, again, first floor stuff, of a power that is given to Congress even to regulate commerce, and the prohibition of the state for imposing a duty on imported goods. As a natural being, are you an imported good? Are you cargo? No. So it doesn't apply. The taxes for sales, as an example, applies to the person that is the seller. You're the buyer when you're buying merchandise from somebody. So lastly, I want to say that, because we just discovered this tonight when we knew we were doing this show, we apologize underneath a couple of lines down that says United States, and this is to support what you said earlier, that the IRS is not a part of the government. They were lying to us. United States government under oath denies that the IRS is an agency of the government. All right. So when you click that, it comes up with a PDF. Well, the whole point of that PDF is paragraph 4. What we just discovered tonight is that paragraph 4, because it was highlighted, you couldn't read it. The yellow overturns it. And even now, Anita, I got to get my original copy, or you get one without the highlight, because when you print it, the yellow highlight hides out what's written. So I'm getting ready to just put up temporarily this paragraph that I'm going to read as to what paragraph 4 is saying, because the second copy that you just sent to me for me to post, it also is highlighted and it converts to just all yellow. So we need it up there without it, and then I'll just point people out to read paragraph 4. So basically I'm going to put something up that says we've added this typewritten portion for paragraph 4 because it is highlighted and it does not show in the PDF of the document attached, and we were not aware of it. So we will be reloading it without the highlight. Until then, paragraph 4 is typed below, and we apologize for not recognizing this earlier. And it says, denies that the Internal Revenue, these are the things that the United States is saying, so it's listed. So number 4 says, denies that the Internal Revenue Service, let me say it again, denies that the Internal Revenue Service is an agency of the United States government, but admits that the United States of America is a proper party to this action that was taken, admits that the IRS has served a notice of levy on plaintiff for funds owed to the defendant. So right there, in supporting what you said, is that it has been admitted that the IRS is not an agency or a portion party to at all in any way as government, right? Now, I just want to say one more thing that's important. Hold on, just give me a second. so we can put this in order and then discuss it from here, I guess. There are a couple of letters, quite a few letters on the site as well. One of the letters that is not on the site because I don't have a good enough copy to copy it on the site is, give me a second. That's the most important one, too. They're all important. And I just have it in my hand. Just give me one moment. I'll just read the other one until I find that because that one's important. But, wow, I just had it. All right, let me just give you what I do have. But this is the one I really want to read. Remember the one I told you I needed to get the original better copy? But let me just read this one here, and we'll go from there. Okay, taxes. Let's see. Hold on. I think I got it right here. Just had it in my hand. I was like, what I did with it? Just give me a second. Bear with me one moment.
All right. You know what? While you're looking for that, why don't I read? Because I did find the case laws on your energy, your compensation for labor cannot be taxed.
Okay, you go ahead and do that while I find this one. Yes, ma'am.
This is straight out of the correcting the position of the IRS, and it reads, income excludes wages, salaries, and tips. Graves versus People of New York. Tips are gifts and are therefore not taxable. There is a clear distinction between profit and wages or compensation for labor. Compensation, wages for labor, cannot be regarded as profit within the meaning of the law. Oliver versus Halstead. There is a clear distinction between profit and wages or compensation for labor. Compensation for labor cannot be regarded as profit within the meaning of the law. The word profit, as ordinarily used, means the gain made upon business or investment, a different thing altogether from mere compensation for labor. Commercial League Association versus the People. Reasonable compensation, wages, for labor or services rendered is not profit. Lauderdale Cemetery Associates versus Matthews. The phraseology of Form 1040 is somewhat obscure. Perhaps it means that there shall be included actual receipts, A, for services rendered in the year for which the return is made, and B, for unpaid accounts or charges for services rendered in former years and paid in the year for which the return is made. But it matters little what it does mean. The statute, and the statute alone, determines what is income to be taxed. It taxes only income derived from many different specified sources. One does not derive income from rendering services, labor, and charging for them. Edwards versus Keith. Income means only gain and profit, not earnings. Staples versus U.S. Freedom in the making of contracts of personal employment by which labor and services are exchanged for money or other forms of property is an elementary part of the rights of personal liberty and private property, not to be struck down directly or arbitrarily. Prudential versus Chief. And then last, there's more, but I'll just give you one more. The right to labor and to its protection from unlawful interference is a constitutional as well as a common law right. Every man has a natural right to the fruits of his own industry. 48 American Jurisprudence, second edition, section 2. And let's see, I think, this is the last one. The property which every man has in his labor is the original foundation of all other property. So it is the most sacred and inviolable. Butchers Union Company versus Crescent City Company. And there's more. Just, review that, correcting the position of the IRS. But all of this is just saying one thing. It's the people that must sue these corporations. Now, you can't sue a corporation, so don't go there. What you have to do is you have to go behind the corporation and pull out the people who are obligated for the action of the corporation. That would include the individual who is harassing you directly, as well as the CEO. Now, I want to make one last reference. Now, everybody has been receiving threatening letters in some fashion or another, or some threat from the Internal Revenue Service probably all our lives. And we have been going after the pure person that sent the letter. However, in 2013-14, when the Congress was questioning the Internal Revenue Service, they called the CEO, which is the commissioner, to account for the actions of his employees, and he's the one that ended up resigning. Now, some of those people probably eventually ended up losing their job, but the point I'm making is you have to go after the person that is responsible. That would be the head of the organization, as well as the individual who is specifically violating your liberties and attacking you. Islam?
Islam. This is, like, we really need to attack this and of course, the right to travel. Both of them equally are what hinders people.
Yep.
In fact, these people who manage to, with success, I guess is the word, to not have taxes taken out of it at their place of employment, they feel a certain freedom, like, immediately. It's like mental, emotional, and, it's just psychic. It's like, it just feels great, because someone's in your pocket like that. Stealing, really. And even when you didn't really know why, you knew something wasn't quite right? The more you make, the more they take. But this letter, now this two from the one that's not on the site, I'm going to read. They're all very, very short. I'm going to read this one first because it sets the stage. Now, for all the people who think, well, that letter was, in 1985, or this particular one was, I don't see the date. This particular one was 96. I got one here for 85. That's from the Congressman, House of Representatives. Then there's one from the United States Senate, 1989. Their responses here is based on the law, which cannot be altered or changed by these corporations or anyone seeming to be government or of any agency. So the whole deal with all of this is it applies to you if you are not in your right status. It's just that simple. If you're, no one can change your descent nature, but if you don't know what it is, they're going to take advantage of you. So if you say, for instance, this is very important, right? This is very important because you got people out there, some in temples talking about you are citizens of the United States of America, and that is very injurious because you're not citizens of the United States of America. You can never be. And that's in the 13th Amendment. And then some of them say they're enforcing the 13th Amendment with the 20 sections. Well, if that's the case, Article 12 tells you that. So, I don't know what's going on with that. At some point you have to realize that it is like either really, really incompetent or infiltration. One of the two, neither is good. So these letters, these responses are based on what is that can't be altered. The first one, the one I don't have on the site that I am going to get on the site, it says this is to a person that the agent, Internal Revenue Service agent is responding to. And this one's right out of the Mid-Atlantic region, Philadelphia area. It doesn't really matter where it's out of. It really doesn't. And it says, Dear Mrs., I think it's Haverell, this is in response to your private act request dated December 12, 1995. The Internal Revenue Code is not positive law. Can we say that again? The Internal Revenue Code is not positive law. It is special law. It applies to specific persons. Now, remember, there's natural persons and there's artificial. It applies to specific persons in the United States who choose to make themselves subject to the requirements of the special law in the Internal Revenue Code. Let's repeat that. It applies to specific persons in the United States who choose to make themselves subject to the requirements of the special laws in the Internal Revenue Code by entering, not going to tell you how you choose it. And let me just say this. We are aware that out of lack of knowledge, we didn't know. So we've been misled. So those who choose to make themselves subject to the requirements of the special laws in the Internal Revenue Code by entering into an employment agreement within the U.S. government. The law is that income from sources not effectively connected with the conduct of a trade or business within the U.S. government is not subject to any tax under Subtitle A of the Internal Revenue Code. This concludes our response to your request. Now, in that letter, you have to find yourself. Are you one of those specific persons? Yay or nay? That's up to you to decide. It says those who choose by entering in, and we already know what the thing is. We know what they do to lie, but studying makes it clear. Now, here's another one. Congress. It says, regarding your recent contact with my office and the difficulties you are experiencing with the Internal Revenue Service, it is the policy of our office not to give legal advice and suggest that you seek counsel with tax expertise. We can address your specific question relative to IRS Form 668W Notice of Levy. Now, this is for all those out there that are being levied, okay, on wages, that are Notice of Levy on Wages, Section 6331 IRC entitled Levy and Distraint. Now, didn't I just read it says that this taxing system is not based on distraint? It's right there on the site, okay. This is called on Levy and Distraint. And it says, and Section 6331A IRC entitled Authority of Secretary. Levy may be made upon the accrued salary or wages of any officer, employee, or elected official of the United States, District of Columbia, or any agency or instrumentality of the United States or the District of Columbia. I don't know. Does it sound like they're talking about the common people, honey?
Yeah.
They're not talking about you. They're not talking about us. It's right here. By serving, now here's what they got to do, by serving notice of levy on the employee of such officer, employee, or elected official. It does not provide authority. Let's read it again. It does not provide authority to levy wages of private citizens in the private sector.
That's
wow.
Right.
And this is the one you talked about out in E, because it says right here, this is from the Congress, the omission of this section from IRS Form 668W may be misleading to some employers, as you have suggested. I hope you will find this information useful and regret that I am unable to provide you with any more assistance. He just gave you enough.
Yep.
It ain't even for the common folk. All right, last, and then we can move on. This one is also on the site. I'm just going to read it, and it's from a senator. The one I just read is from Congress. This is from Senator someone, Ortiz. No, I'm sorry. Mark Foreman, legislative correspondent from the United States Senate. On behalf of Senator, I believe it's Inouye, Inouye, I am writing in further response to your inquiry regarding the precise provisions of the Internal Revenue Code, IRS, that render an individual liable for income taxes. Check this out, everyone. Based on the research performed by the Congressional Research Services, there is no provision which specifically and unequivocally requires an individual to pay income taxes. Bam! Then they go into, however, Article 1. If you choose to do so. All right. Now, what more do we need except for to enforce that? Enforce the law, really. But are they talking about, doesn't this really come down to you, us, the people knowing who they are and what their status is in relation, because status means your relationship to the community. Now, and it's a legal relationship as well. So if you're saying you're a corporation, right, then all right, then what, how much did you make and how much do you have left over? Let us tax that. But just because they say you're one don't mean you are one. That's what this whole thing is about. Yeah. So it sounds like to me, they ain't even talking about that. Clearly they're not talking about, in this last one, aren't they talking about the employees of their own damn employees? Yeah. And they don't mean you. I mean officers of, to make that real clear, they mean those who are in the District of Columbia working in that corporation. Yes. Exactly. Because the District of Columbia is a corporation. How about that? Yes.
I just want to, well, Ms., you was getting ready to say something.
Yeah, I didn't want to stop you from adding on. I had a few things to add on, but I had a question as well, specifically for Brother Cujo and everybody to, kind of look at this thing. So I didn't want to cut your wisdom. Please finish, and I'll add on the subject.
You know what? Go ahead. I thought I had lost my train of thought, but it came back to me. But, the Internal Revenue Service, just like the county, is a corporation. Now, the case law has been telling us for some time that they're not government. All right? Now, the Internal Revenue Service can write as many policies and procedures for their corporation as they feel like. All right? But here we have case law that says, when acting to enforce a statute and its subsequent amendments to the present day, now they talk about the judge of the municipal court is acting as an administrative officer and not in a judicial capacity. Courts in administering or enforcing statutes do not act judicially but merely ministerially. Now, you might be wondering, well, what does that have to do with the Internal Revenue Service? Because all of their code is written by their secretary. And there is a case law that says, the secretary of the Internal Revenue Service cannot write law. So that means we don't have to reference any Internal Revenue Service code. But Roz put it down very well, because the Internal Revenue Service Code is not positive law. Now, and she read the letter where it says it's not positive law. Now, for all of you who are wondering, okay, well, what is positive law? Go look up in the Black's Law Dictionary, because it tells you positive law is not law. I mean, if it's not positive law, it is not law. And they ain't never said it was law. I mean, really, they don't, because they say, oh, it's the law to pay taxes. And then when you ask them, well, where's the law? They say, well, statute so-and-so. Well, statute does not sound like the word law. So it can't be that, right? Then ministerial officers are incompetent to receive grants of judicial power from the legislature. Their acts in attempting to exercise such powers are necessarily nullities. They just told you that any papers that the Internal Revenue Service, a corporation, sends to the county clerk, a corporation, they're all nullities. Now, I know I hear people saying, but they're moving on me anyways. That's why we got to sue them, because, look, they're thieves. They're behaving like thieves. They're acting like thieves. They're telling you, I'm a thief. So what do we do to thieves? Islam?
Wow. Yeah, that has a lot of ancient roots.
Exactly.
So, yeah, but I wanted to ask first and foremost, because that subject is so broad, it's speaking, to more Canaan land everywhere in the world, right? You know how something simple as stamps had a lot to do with quote unquote taxes, all of this. I saw two different stamps relative to more up North America and Canaan land. And on them, they say inland revenue opposed to internal revenue. And I just wanted to know, do they make that distinguishment in Canaan land today, between the IR for inland revenue or internal revenue? Because I saw that on those stamps. Islam, and then I just wanted to add on some references on the subject of tax, period. Islam.
Well, there's so much as far as out here because of the fraud that corporate Canada's engaged in. They have all these different layers. So at the moment, there's the agency called Canada Revenue Agency that is supposedly the people who deal with Canada's taxes, whatever stuff. Prior to them, it was Canada Customs and Revenue Agency, which came out of Canada Border Services. And then prior to them, it was Revenue Canada. So Revenue Canada became Canada Customs and Revenue Agency. Right now, it's all, and then all of it basically goes back to Canada being involved or based on them being a colony, a British colony, when in 1914 when Britain declared war against Germany, Canada had to assist Britain, and in order for them to get the finance to assist Britain, they basically taxed the people to get that money, so-called money.
Same thing they're doing today.
Yeah. So this thing that they call tax, inland tax, whatever they want to call it, it really stems from war measures, just like everywhere else. You know what I mean? And considering that the war is over, then nobody should be taxed. But then we have ministers of finance implementing all these different acts, which is why out here we tell Moors that they should be looking at Article 11 of the Articles of Confederation to show that Canada agreed to everything in the Union, so we can enforce the Constitution of the United States of America Republic here, which states that the only people who should lay and collect taxes is Congress, and anybody else who's doing anything relative to taxes is committing high treason and, like Mother Anita saying, should be sued.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Based on them not being the jurisdiction that should be dealing with taxes. But just like everything else that we're dealing with, we have to sort of yield so people could catch up to where their mind's supposed to be at, so we could institute these things. Because it's not going to be 5 Moors that sue IRS or Canada Revenue Agency because they can just go get 2 Negroes that owe taxes, threaten them with a letter, and get them to pay, and they'll be able to fund the defense for the suit that the 5 Moors bring against them.
True.
True. Which is why when people get to that place where they say, well, how come you're not doing nothing, and how come you're not? Because people are stupid, and we can't do stuff with stupid people. People need to be competent before we could, implement some of these things. So, we put the information out there to inspire people to get them to that place. But, as individuals, for right now, if so-called Canada Revenue Agency is coming at Moors, there's Moors out here who, they're just going to send their rich, challenge them on their authority, and their little individual tax stuff is going to go away. But, that's not really what it's about. It's really about suing these people for treason, because they have nothing to do with taxes. So why are they even claiming that you owe them, especially taxes? And there's no, you're talking when you're talking about war measures and people taxing or so-called corporations pretending to be government taxing. You're talking about wars from the early 1900s. What's that have to do with now? That don't got nothing to do with now that people need to be taxed right now still. You know what I mean?
True indeed. And man, that was good to know. I think, no matter what fictitious borders are put up to try to separate Moors and Canaan land, and say these are different places, I think that one thing on the principle, because it's the same thing, just a different corporate name. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like Sam's and Walmart, same owners, just different names, for that, or brands for that corporation. But I think as far as the people go, one thing that displays this is definitely unconstitutional in conjunction with what you were saying about bringing in the Articles of Confederation, etc. One thing that makes the principle universally wrong is equity. When you look at equity, these are, I'm just going to read a couple of references that I have read in the John Bouvier's Concise Encyclopedia of Law under the definition of taxes. I just wanted to add in a couple of references there because it goes into equity a bit, which is a universal principle, just like justice. It's the same thing. And here, and also, if you look at Article 3, Section 2, it does mention in all cases in law and equity, equity inspires law, and they wouldn't be anything without each other, basically. So you have to pick the principle, basically, of how you would bring an action, if you were to do that. But it says equity can only correct abuses in assessing taxes by invidious assessments when injury has been done. In order to invoke the powers of a court of equity to restrain the collection of illegal taxes, the case must be brought within the well-recognized foundation of equitable jurisdiction. And the mere error or excess in valuation or hardship or injustice of the law or any grievance which may be remedied by a suit at law, either before or after payment of taxation, will not justify such interposition. And it must clearly appear not only that the tax is illegal, but that the property owner has no adequate remedy at law, and that there are special circumstances bringing the case under some recognized equity jurisdiction. And there's case laws there, referring to state railroad tax cases, 92 U.S. Arkansas BL Association versus Madison, and in the case from Pittsburgh. One thing I wanted to emphasize was that it says special circumstances, no different than, in law you have special appearance, general appearance. Everything is not for everybody, because if the right of taxation rests on the consent of the governed, first of all, you have to consent to it, right? And then if you're not, and not that you were ever obligated to it, but the will of the people can declare it void themselves, even though it's already declared void. You know what I mean? The people have to consent to give it validity. It's just like you said, a corporation doing extortion business. And back then, even like in the 20s, they would tax extorters. You know what I mean? So this is a whole different type of inquisition going on in Orchard. But I say this. It goes on to say, an apparent exception to this rule has been said to have been established by certain cases, but this exception is only recognized when there is a state statute authorizing an injunction or when inequality of valuation is the result of a statute designed to discriminate injuriously against any particular class of persons or species of property. German National Bank versus Kimball. So it goes on to say that, it's not really the state statute, that can authorize an injunction. The or is when inequality or inequity, is the result of a statute designed to discriminate injuriously against any particular class of persons. And you already know, for anybody to try to tax the Aboriginal people of the land, that's a violation, specifically if they're foreigners. And
exactly.
So if they designed the statute and try to make it apply to the Aboriginal people, see, this again is why nationality is important. Like it's so imperative, because you know what I mean, with all the adversity and discrimination, the one primitive question for this foreign corporation to ask a more or demand compensation from a proclaimed more, the first thing, is they don't have any authority. But what have you contributed to the Moorish nation, period? Like, why are we suffering these abuses? And then asking people to fund that. You know what I mean? That's out of order in its own light right there, because they never had a position to really, demand that, not to Aboriginals. But if you just ask that question alone to yourself, really, what have they done for you? You know what I mean? Like to not just you, but the nation at large. And how does that supersede your natural equity and right to enjoy the fruits of your labor? Like you wake up, you punch the clock, you do what you do, you create your product, you do whatever it is that you do. That's on you. You know what I mean? They're not waking you up to do that. So that's not something that they have a right to demand. You know, when you look at revenue, it means to come back, right? So what would be coming back to them that never was theirs really in the first place? You know, the fruits of your labor was not ever really theirs. So that's something to look at there too, I would say. But go on to read something else I highlighted from out the Bouvier's to get back to references. It says, equity will restrain the collection of taxes illegally imposed, but there must be some equitable ground for relief besides the illegality of the tax. Allen v. Carr Company, 139 U.S. 658. Again, see the Bouvier's. It says such ground may be liability to irreparable injury or to vexatious litigation. And it's definitely vexatious to try to tax Aboriginal people. That's vexatious litigation on its own merit. And again, when you mention about the quote-unquote federal government and who they choose to recognize as quote-unquote Aboriginal people, you know, who recognized them is the question to ask. To even come to judgment on anybody as far as their Aboriginal indigenous status to be predetermined or fixed already. You know what I mean? Like that's just an aspect to look at. But it goes on to say, where there is a statutory remedy, it is exclusive. But if the statute leaves open the judicial inquiry, all jurisdictional questions, the decision of an administrative board does not preclude a resort to judicial remedies. So I say that to say that for the most part, you know, as Cujo was mentioning, I suggest thoroughly, though, the reference, people analyze that, all the references that were given tonight by Anae, my mom, Cujo, definitely great reference points. I just wish, I trust that the people will be inspired to look into that more and everything, because as Cujo was mentioning, you're talking about war taxes and things like that. If that was supposed to be over, you know, how is that still going on? Even it's just so many dimensions to the whole aspect of foreigners extorting Aboriginals everywhere in that aspect, you know.
Well, you know what? I just want to interject something right here, you know, because even if there is a war going on, the Internal Revenue Service is a private corporation. The federal government is on record as saying they're not an agency of the federal government, so they would never be the ones collecting any, you know, taxes for any war. And then, you know, I know from the perspective of the United States versus the United States of America, when Lincoln imposed the tax, that was applied only to the members of the Union States, never the Moors.
Right.
So, and if that's what Cujo was referring to, that was repealed because it had a lifespan of only 2 years. So that was repealed, and that's in the congressional record.
Right. So indeed. So there it is. So none of them have standing regardless of what anyway. You know, right. But to understand the history of these institutions is definitely not an aspect to leave at the door. Knowing that they're invalid And that principle that just, they try to widespread everywhere, boys need to be alert of and understand that law and equity has everything to do with remedy there. One last reference is from a case or out of the Bouvier's Law Dictionary, Erskine versus Van Arsdale. And it says, taxes illegally assessed and paid may always be recovered back if the collector understands from the payer that the taxes are regarded as illegal and that suit will be instituted to compel the refunding of them. I thought that was interesting as well.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to add something else because someone brought to my attention about how every time you pump gas, you're paying tax, right? Now, I was looking for surcharge, and I'm going to find it because I had to use it in one of my writs. Like you just said, any illegal tax is not done correctly, right? But first thing we have to look at is what, I wanted to find surcharge. I know I used it, and let me find that, and then I'm going to read conspiracy. So when they put taxes on the pump, surcharge is a charge that is over and beyond that which it costs. I'm going to give the exact. Anybody actually can go into Black's Law and find that. I used it in one of my writs. Oh, surcharge, a bill that has been filed to open a claim, an exaction, impost, or encumbrance beyond what is just and right or beyond one's authority or power. So that means in a lot of cases where they have been quote-unquote built-in taxes, that is really an impost. That's an encumbrance beyond what is just or right or beyond the authority to do so in terms of taxing, period. Because like as we said and as you showed in that case, Federal Reserve notes are not, or debts for the United States, and are not to be imposed or paid by anyone else, right? So we have to look at that way. Now that's I'm just saying this to clear this up. We got to take one bite at a time, and we have to deal with what is our immediate encumbrances. Our immediate encumbrances is when they're dealing with us with income tax. That's the main thing to get free from, well, really the whole thing. They don't have the authority, period, because they're saying that through government they're doing this. And even through the taxes on the gas, it's the same thing. It's an encumbrance. It's an impost without the authority to do so in that respect, since we're dealing with Federal Reserve notes, right? In that case. Now, extortion, but see, because we don't know that. So extortion is involuntary admission to overcome power of resistance through threat, duress, and coercion to unlawfully obtain money from another. Conspiracy. Now, a lot of times we talk about extortion. Then we talk about conspiracy. Then we talk about conspiracy to extort. And all of this is what's going down now. So conspiracy is a combination or an agreement between two or more persons for accomplishing an unlawful end or a lawful end by unlawful means. The essence of conspiracy is an agreement together with an overt act to do an unlawful act or to do a lawful act in an unlawful manner. Actors may drop out. Actors may drop out. That's about it. No. Actors may drop out and others drop in. Details may change from time to time. The members need not know each other or the part played by others. A member need not even know all the details of the plan or the operations. He must, however, know the purpose of the conspiracy and agree to become a party to a plan to effectuate that purpose. So what is that saying? Right there, that's all them employees who work for these corporations who say they're just following the policies or the law or doing their job. They don't even know that they're members, they're parties to conspiracy to extort. And it says, lastly, further, a conspiracy is a consultation or agreement between two or more persons, either falsely to accuse another of a crime punishable by law, or wrongfully to injure or prejudice a third person or any body of men in any manner, or to commit any offense punishable by law, or to do any act with intent to prevent the course of justice, or to effect a legal purpose with a corrupt intent, or by improper means. So all of that explains all of these employees that are a part of this thing. They're all conspirators to extort the people. So, you know, whether they hide the tax in the gas pump or not, it's an unauthorized impost. But we're not really talking about the gas tax right now, but I'm just adding that in so that people can really get what it is we're talking about when we talk about taxing these Federal Reserve notes and imposing that debt tax or taxing the people to help pay that debt.
And, you know, It's interesting because at least if you go to the store and they apply a tax, you can tell them remove that. But at the gas station, that's already built in.
Don't mean it's right, though, does it?
That's already built in. So that's like premeditated. That's premeditated because they intentionally built it in. So you can't even go and say, well, I need you to deduct that tax because I'm non-obligatory.
Right. And most of the time, like you said, you can go to stores and do that if you really know what you're talking about, and of course conduct yourself, in an intelligent manner. Especially a lot of these other stores, because they're not paying no taxes anyway, so they don't want no trouble. They're not paying them; they get them from. Am I right, Liz?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, you see, there's different people. Hindustanis from the east. A lot of them have gas stations, which are now being like overshadowed by gas stations that are like supermarkets at the same time. But they run with that concept of Indians not being taxed. They're not really paying taxes, and that's what it is. They charge the people that. It's like a custom of. I'm going to get over and charge you even more just because. So that's really what it is. But I say that to say this, like things like that, no, I don't know precisely, but I know that there's a way to get those types of refunds back, right? Because you're not going to, certain things, I apologize, but you're not going to just sit there at the gas station talking about make sure, unless you have things already in order when you come through, then, or with your situation. But like you said, it's already built in, to sit there arguing about it, you're really just going to waste your time, unless you've came up with another method. But I know as far as the receipts, it's a way to deal with that later. You know what I mean? I just wanted to add that aspect on.
Yeah, and I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, I was just going to say, just go ahead and add it into whatever you're about to say, but like you said earlier, and someone just texted, they say they're a service, but what service are they providing? But go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when you was reading the definition of surcharge, it was interesting because in the definition of extort, it said to overcharge.
Yep.
And that's what the surcharge is. And so when you put the definition for extort out of the Black's Law 4th edition as well as the definition of surcharge together, you've got criminal activity, extortion.
That's
you know,
what
that's
I did in the
racketeering.
trip that I had that was dealing with them imposing that damn, what they even called, they had the audacity to call it a surcharge when you're on that driving stuff. They'll say, oh, well, it's, you know, surcharge, you got to pay surcharge fees and all that crap. Like, they're surcharging you for getting stopped. Let's say if you get hindered, you know, and you get a ticket for whatever they want to give it to you for, speeding or whatever, then they have they have another service that says, well, we're going to surcharge you for what? You know, because you got stopped
For
the other
getting
day.
a ticket.
Huh?
They're surcharging you for getting a ticket, but you know what?
Yes,
With this
yes.
whole,
So I use that. I use that and the conspiracy, on a couple of occasions. And what were you going to say?
you know, with this, we really got to look at this county situation, because, you know, everybody runs to the county whenever they want to attack the people, including the county. They attack the people just flat out. But when you look at the whole setup, you have corporations. We're flesh and blood beings, and you got flesh and blood beings operating through these corporations. Now, people might want to say, okay, well, you know, the corporation is attacking me, but let's be real about this. Let's be lawful, and let's be intelligent. There is no corporation attacking the people. It is people attacking the people.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to look at it for what it is, because the minute you go into any, venue, and you say, okay, I'm suing the corporation, or it's the corporation, or I'm a corporation, you already demonstrated that you don't know what time it is, because it's people attacking people. And so that we have to look at this, okay, because now look at, the presumption is that you are in the inside of a corporation, and this corporation has pissed its boundaries. You know, like a little dog, it went around and pissed on the earth, marking its territory, and anyone within that territory is under their authority, and they behave as though we the Aboriginal and the mothers of popular civilization, we are their children. And when you look at, just look at the whole right to travel thing. That right there is so obviously out of whack. Because you got these employees of a corporation. They say, okay, well, they pull you over. Okay, then you ask, okay, well, what's the problem? Oh, they say your tail light is out. I was like, okay, well, thanks. No. I have to give you a ticket. Wait a minute. Why are you giving me a ticket? Because your tail light is out. So it's my property. Why would you give me a ticket because my tail light is out? You see how twisted that is? And we ride that. We don't question it. We're only just now questioning it. But we have been buying into this all these years, okay? You're traveling down the road, okay, and your headlight is out. And this happens quite frequently. If one headlight is out, I call them the one-eyed bandits. You know, your headlight is out. One of these police employees can be coming towards you. As soon as they see the headlight out, they make a big U-turn and come behind you, turn the red and blue flashing lights on, scare the crap out of you, all right? Now you're nervous, your heart is beating fast, your respiration has increased, you're in fear for your life, and you roll down the window, and they say, do you know your headlight is out? And you're thinking, oh, my God, thank you so much for telling me. I'm going to change it as soon as I can. No, I have to give you a ticket for that. Excuse me?
I know somebody that they were trying to get in the last time we were talking about that, and they told me they that experience when the data we showed the difference between how some Europeans who were effectuating law when they got stopped. Well, they had called me after the show, and they said that had just happened to them. Exactly what you said. The tail light was out. They U-turned, came up on them, and then there's a case law that says that once they conclude their business with you, they have to move on. You don't have to show them anything because remember, they can't. Delaware versus Boroughs, they can't stop you to see if you have a driver's license instrument on you, right? So he said that what he did was, he says, all right, are you detaining me because, you can't detain me longer? No, he asked him what he stopped him for. This is what he did. This was really bright. And they said, because your tail light is out. All right, so he's established his business, so-called business and reason that he stopped them. So he says, okay, thanks for telling me that. Your business with me is now concluded. And you cannot detain me any longer than the business that you have, which you just said, which is the tail light. Because when they wanted to ask him for his driver's license, ID, and all that stuff, he told them, no, I don't have to give that to you. Your business is concluded, right? And he laughed. I mean, that's how he handled it. Because that's exactly how it is. And that's how it ought to be. Thank you very much for telling me that. But no, they want to extort finances from the people for everything. Because they don't have any, like you said, they're a corporation. They don't produce jack. They don't produce anything. They're like the vampires. That's what colonists are anyway. They suck off of someone else's land and resources. And that's what they've been doing. And also, we want to refer to people back. I think it's our last Sunday, Sisters Standing on Law, where we pulled out the difference between commerce and a merchant. We are the original merchant because in commerce, it's a third-party sale. You're buying something and reselling it, whatever like that. But that includes the resources of the land, which goes back to why it's so important for you to claim your status regarding your Aboriginal Indigenous status, not just Indigenous, Aboriginal Indigenous status, because we were the original merchants. We made things from the resources of the earth and sold them. You know what I'm saying? We didn't, do what they're doing and then, add all this stuff to it. And that's commerce. And the reason they were even allowed to be here was to do commerce, but that has nothing to do with the natural people. But we want to get all up in the commerce thing with them, So I just wanted to add those two things.
Yes. But look, I just want to, bring out one obvious weirdness of this whole right to travel thing. For example, say you happen to have a fender bender, and you might have developed, and everybody's in a daze because, as soon as you get hit, I mean, it could be a little fender bender, but it sounds like half your car just got taken away. I don't care how little the hit is, it always sounds like half your car just got taken away. And so you're in complete shock. Here comes the little police employees, and you would think, now here is a case where somebody is physically injured. If not physically injured, they're emotionally injured. And these people will say, I still have to give you a ticket. And you know what's crazy? We take the ticket, go to the hospital, deal with the insurance to repair the car, and pay the freaking ticket. How twisted is that? You know what? I have to say that I can't blame a thief for stealing from us if we don't even question that craziness. Because it's just crazy. And so we have to really look at this right to travel issue, because you got employees of a corporation who are making all kind of claims, and then to add insult to injury, they will go and rent a room in a building, call the court, and bring you in and talk to you as though they are dealing in law when the law says they are incompetent to receive any judicial authority, and anything that they're doing is a nullity. But you can't. But we feel helpless because we don't know that. But now that we know that, it becomes clear, because they put you in a situation where if you do not give them the income, they will sick their security guards on you. That's extortion. That's flat out extortion. And we don't never question this. We don't never sue them. I mean, come on. If this stuff happened at Walmart, we'd be dialing the phone from the floor of Walmart. You know, we'd be dialing the phone from the floor and relying on the floor of Walmart to get people ready to dress up the suit. I mean, we're still on the floor, and we'd be working it out. We already preparing the suit. But when these modern Europeans do this, we don't do nothing. I should make a distinction, you know, because what we do, and we have done this for a very long time, we write these banging writs, and we rebut the claim, and we tell them in our writs, if you don't do this, we're going to do this. And these people, they're so calling our bluff now because we never do this that we say we're going to do in the writ. And the only this that we can do that will really put them in check is to sue them, because every corporation is terrified of a suit, because a suit puts you in the public arena, and that means you can't get insurance, and if you do get insurance, it's going to go up every time there is a suit, and that's why a doctor might open a single-person practice, but after a couple of malpractice lawsuits, he has to take on partners to foot the malpractice insurance that has gone up with every complaint. That's the strategy. That's how we put these corporations out of business. We do that. Islam. It's 3 minutes and 20 seconds left to the live internet feed. What that means is at 11:30, the internet feed is going to go down, and we will have an hour left to the broadcast. If you're able to, call 347-945-5899. Try to get in if you can. If you cannot get in, wait until 12:30 and download the archives and listen to the last hour. So with that, we're going to take some calls. We said a lot today.
And you need to just say one more thing real quick. And when you're talking about doing this suit, the secondary thing is making sure that we use the right language, because a lot of people use the wrong language.
Absolutely.
They'll even say, they'll even say, well, you know, as a citizen of the United States of America, or, you know, they won't mention, you know, that it's the national domicile. They don't, you know, they put themselves into the wrong jurisdiction in their writing. But that might be another class. Yeah. All right.
Yes, and somebody did ask that in the chat room. Look, you don't unveil strategy in a public arena like this. That will be a private class, and we'll work out how we're going to do that at some point in the future. We've been talking about it, though. We just got to work it out.
You mean for that suit, but for any claim at all, individually they have to know the difference, you know, what their status means, and that they don't live in any of the states, and they're not a citizen of the United States of America. They have to know that on ground floor, if you know what I mean. You know what I mean? And And we do have that information spread out, especially, give it to people, in fact, whenever they really order books, they get a little bit of that. If they would just review it, they would see the position that they would have to take in that language that they don't use. All right.
Yes,
Moving
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Well, our first caller 860478. You're live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwestern Exum. Islam, caller 860478. All right. Caller 412-969. You're live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwestern Exum.
Islam, this is Energy calling from Northwestern Exum near Pittsburgh Corporation. I just wish to point out three things, and it was a great class tonight, especially dealing with these agencies, especially the IRS or the Internal Revenue Service. It's been a known fact that those taxes did not apply to the people, the natural people, and there is no law stating that they have the right to do so. It's just great that you all are covering it in class tonight, and hopefully, we all get out there and just research this matter, and it's very simple. It's been known for many, many years. Also, that whole right to travel, the first one that's committing the crime is the policy enforcer by turning on those emergency lights. Those are emergency vehicles, and if there is no emergency, there is no need to be utilizing those lights and those things that they're attempting to extort us for. First and foremost, they committed the crime by turning on those lights. It's Class C felony.
Actually, the crime is that they are a private corporation. They're not government.
True.
So,
like I said, policy enforcement, they're security guards.
Impersonating government employees and in government, and they're presuming to be government. So that's really
that's the
where
first crime. That's the first crime. Yes. And then turning on those lights. I mean, you just committed a felony by turning on those lights. There's no emergency. First thing I always ask is what seems to be the emergency. For the record.
Well, when they turn on those flashing red and blue lights indicate their indication of a national emergency. However, they are not the national. They are employees of a foreign corporation, literally. So that's the crime right there.
We just experienced that coming down the road. It was the weather was very adverse, snowing really bad. The roads were very slick, and I had a big vehicle up on the back of me, just right up on the back of me. And next thing you know, they hit the lights, and I veered off to the right, to give them their berth because I know I hadn't done anything. They went on past me and was stopped up there at the red light, just sitting there. And my mom was like, "You see this?" I said, "Yes, I've seen this." And that's the kind of crimes they commit all day, every day. But those were the two things that I was sitting when I was listening to it. I was like, yeah, as far as these taxes go, that don't even make any sense. And then, like you said, we don't challenge them. And I'm getting ready to face a situation where I'm dealing with one of these agencies, and they're coming at me about a Social Security number. And like I told them, he's not a U.S. citizen. And I left it at that.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So thank you so much for the class tonight. I appreciate all the information you all put out, and you enjoy the rest of your evening.
All righty. Peace and love, sis.
Peace.
All right. We got one more person with their hand their hand up. If anyone would like to ask a question or make comments, press 1 on your telephone dial, and you will be placed in the queue. All right. Caller 914-968. You're live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwestern Exum.
Islam, brothers and sisters. How y'all doing? This is Mohammed Bey.
No.
Islam, how y'all doing?
Well.
All right, Islam. I have a question. I have a brother that's going to court, and he's challenging the the jurisdiction of the magistrate, and the magistrate is saying that he has jurisdiction, but we know he don't have jurisdiction. But they're proceeding to trial, and he put my brother Taekwon L. He put in a discovery and a legal judicial notice, and I was there with him. So the case has still been going on for 2 years, and they're trying to adjudicate him and proceed on. So the judge is backed in the corner, but he's trying to move on, and the DA copped out the case. Like, I'm not going to be involved because he has inalienable rights, and this is against his Sixth Amendment rights. And so the DA left the courtroom, and the magistrate still didn't dismiss the case. And now he's going back to court on this week. So I'm feeling like they're going to try to kidnap him. If there's trial, what do you think he should do?
Oh, I got a question for you real quick, and I know everybody has something to add, but just in short. But it's going on that long because it's just what we're saying. Because for a couple of reasons. One, it probably says the state versus him, right, on his charging papers, right?
Yes.
Okay, so where you're at is not the state, right? And so when you read Article 3, if they're saying that the state versus you go to Article 3 of the Constitution, it says all matters where the state is in controversy must be heard. Original jurisdiction is at the Supreme Court, not the state Supreme Court, because that's not real. They're just saying they're a Supreme Court. They're not that because they don't have the delegation. You already know they don't. And one of the reasons why he's dragging it out because he's waiting to see what your brother's going to do. Like, he should have been removed out of that court. He should have been sued them. You know what I'm saying? That's what they wait for. When they find that just like Anna Eve's saying, when they find that we don't do that, they say, okay, I'm going to run over him. I'm going to have a trial, knowing that he can't have a trial in a court that has no jurisdiction. Part of the reason we do that is coming into it is we actually think, until we have these experiences, that they really are a court, that they really are dispensing justice. How can they possibly dispense justice? How can they possibly adjudicate without authority to do so? And then you got the case laws that you already know, that if you ask, once jurisdiction is put on the table, it can't be answered verbally. It can't be cured by consent of the party. It has to be shown, proven. It has to be provided. It has to be submitted, meaning that it's something tangible that has to be shown, and that's that raised seal from the Congress with saying what type of territory, subject matter, etc. They don't have it, which is why they don't produce it. But when we stand there still in front of them after a year, 2 years, or however long they want to extend it, and they realize that we didn't take the proper action for that reason and for the other most important, they're both important, and for the other reason that you got this county court or this administrative court with a magistrate, not a judge, talking about the state versus you. They're not the state, and again, it goes to Article 3. That is why it's happening. That is why.
Islam.
And if they can, Islam.
Sorry to cut you off. This is why the DA ran out the courtroom and said he didn't want to have to do with it.
Because he's liable to get sued too. Yes.
My brother, he jumped out of his straw man and declared his nationality for the record.
So what's that mean? What's that supposed to mean about that you're dealing with courts that aren't court and he's out of his jurisdiction?
Right.
See, this is what I'm saying. The law, Article 3 deals with jurisdiction, with lawful matters, and everything I just said. So, yeah, he declared it, but those people in there are still who they are. You see what I'm saying? All right. Islam.
All right.
Remove it right away.
Solution. What's the solution, sister?
The first solution would have been to remove it pursuant to Article 3, Section 1, 2, and 3, the whole article, actually it's 3, I think. Well, really 1, 2, and 3, into the Supreme Court. Remove it. We've been removed. then have it removed because they're going to try to move on you just like you just said. But the other thing to do is to not have the fear, you know what I mean, even though it's gone as far as it's gone, because, you know, you don't want them to do what you're saying and use them as an example. You want to be the example for self first and for others. Not that you're making any precedent because the law is already precedented. It just, you know, a lot of more that might be thinking, well, I'm going to do precedent. It's already done. It's res judicata. So I would suggest to remove it right away. Annie, what would you say? And talk the right language.
Well, what type of a situation is this?
Oh, it's DWI.
Is they getting ready? Okay, let me ask this: is this the first, second, or third DWI he's had?
No, never anyone before. He didn't have anything.
No, because they only give you jail time according to their statutes after you've had a second or third DUI. Then they could give you 6 months in jail. They might suspend the license instrument at the most. So, like, to be in there that long on that, the only reason why, brother, you're in there that long on that is because he claimed his nationality. Now, once you claim your nationality, you got to be who you say you are. And I'm saying that to say that means you got to know the law. And so they thought they're waiting for that. That's why it gets so long on a DWI, because they take that very seriously, and we all do, really. That's a safety issue, but yeah. Go ahead, Anita. I didn't mean to interrupt.
How did they determine that he was a DWI candidate?
They assumed that because the only thing happened is that he pulled up, he spoke to one of his friends, and the public servant was up the block and walked all the way to his vessel and was like, yo, you gotta be drunk, open the window, and he was like, for what? And through the sunroof, like, you know, and then he kidnapped him. Gave him 5 tickets and a DWI. Say basically, this is they off of first sight or whatever they observed or whatever.
No. That'll never hold up in a court. Not a lawful court. But what type of writs has he put in?
The affidavit of fact, the writ of discovery. And the legal notice and the judicial notice and proclamation.
Well, that doesn't have anything to do with this.
What, the judicial notice and
No, that doesn't have anything to do with that. In your writ, your status is the first paragraph. Why would you send the proclamation and name correction? I'm
not sure why he did that, but...
Well, it sounds like clearly they've been testing him for 2 years, and he's been playing... It sounds like they've been playing a cat and mouse. I'd be willing to bet that they probably gave him a window and he didn't see it.
All right. Okay. All right. So...
But I would say that I don't know what documents you have, and when you say you sent a writ of discovery, what were you requesting?
Putting my status on the record.
No. With the writ of discovery, you said you sent a writ of discovery.
Asking for him to show his delegation of authority, order, and that he has jurisdiction.
That's the averment of jurisdiction quo warranto.
Okay, the averment of quo warranto.
If you're sending a writ of discovery, you have to be asking them for something, and usually, you can ask them for their delegation of authority, but usually with a writ of discovery, you're asking them for something that they are alleging they have to, do what they did. So in this case, I'm sure when they, what was their reason for even pulling him over? Now, you can't make a presumption because they probably never told you, but they have to, in a written discovery, you would ask for that reason. They would have to provide what he was seen swerving on the road with all these police motor vehicles. They have cameras, so you would ask for the video.
All right.
That's what a written discovery does.
Okay.
There's a presumption that you have a contract with them, which is why they're able to pull you over and do what they want. So you ask for that contract. You can't make no presumptions, and you don't want to be putting the driving instrument on the table as an alleged contract because it's not.
Okay. All right. So basically, what you're supposed to put in was the vermin of Toronto.
All right. So you sent a writ of discovery asking for the delegation of authority. What type of a response did you get?
They didn't respond. The DA left the room, said he didn't want to have anything to do with it. This case.
All right. Okay, but you're not the so-called DA/prosecutor. They are the person bringing the claim. See, the whole issue with the right to travel is the so-called prosecutor/DA. They don't have first-hand knowledge. So he can't speak. The reason he can't speak is because he wasn't really there. Who was there, and was that person in the room?
Right. He wasn't there. He was there, but he wasn't there, basically, you're saying so.
Okay,
right?
No. The person who gave you,
No, he wasn't there.
Kidnapped. All right, so why wasn't he there?
I don't know. He was the witness.
Okay, well, I don't know where you are, but up where I am, they try to show that they're doing something by having the person who's giving the demand for income in the courtroom. And a lot of times they will say, well, we can't move forward until he is present, and if he doesn't show up, they will dismiss the case. So
right.
How many times, 2 years you've been going back and forth. Was the person who presented the demand for income and subsequently kidnapped, was he ever in the room?
No.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so you should have asked for an immediate dismissal.
Because you have to face your accuser.
He said the judge said the motion denied.
But you didn't put a motion in.
Motion for what was denied?
Not a motion, an application, he said, was denied.
Okay, application for what?
Well, for the affidavit.
What
so you let him
affidavit?
call your affidavit an application, and it's not.
No. I'm trying to determine, what did the affidavit say?
He's talking about his writ of discovery, right?
It's a jurisdiction action, judicial action without jurisdiction.
Okay,
sorry.
so you're telling me that they call themselves denying to present you with their delegation of authority.
Yes.
Okay, but here's the thing. They just said we ain't got it. That's good. That works in your favor. But here's something else that went right over your head. The person who kidnapped you was never in the room for 2 years.
Right.
Then you should have demanded that it be dismissed, because he's the only one that can supposedly testify.
Right. That's why they going on for trial.
Okay.
No.
Okay. You don't go into one of these meeting rooms for 2 years, and then there's a trial. The 2 years was the trial.
That's right.
Okay. To see what I was gonna do.
They was testing you. I mean, the fact that the person that kidnapped you, they're the eyewitness. They have to be there to give their testimony.
Right. Okay.
But see, you missed that because you were so busy looking at the so-called DA/prosecutor.
Right.
Because you're supposed to be able to face your accuser.
Yeah, you got to be. That's the Constitution. You got to be able to face your accuser. But you never even brought the issue of the accuser up. And they probably was checking to see, 2 years. You should have did that upon walking into the lion's den. Actually, you don't even ask. You don't even ask for the accuser. You're supposed to look around the room and see if he is there. Because if he's not there, they can't move forward.
Yeah, but he for the year and a half he was in his corporate status, basically his wardship. So
it doesn't
matter. Law is law.
All right, I see. It doesn't matter, basically.
Well, he wasn't in no corporate status. Stop saying that.
All right.
That's another thing, right?
He was what status is that? He was in his corporate. What does that mean? I'm not asking you to tell me. I'm just saying think about it, okay? Because that doesn't mean anything.
Right. Islam.
And if you go into one of these meeting rooms with these vampires and you say stuff like that, they're gonna sink their fangs into a good vein, and they're not gonna let go because they're gonna recognize that you ain't studied.
Islam.
Yeah, not to make you feel bad, but all of those things.
That's all right, sister.
Yeah, all right.
I'm gonna learn,
That's right. All those things that you know that you've read on the case law, like you must face your accuser, like they must have a delegation of authority, and then there's a case law that says if you ask them for the delegation of authority, which of course the reason you put it in writing is so that it is substantiated evidence that you asked for it, all right? You have it in written form, and they never answered. They never provided it. And then there's a case law that says if you ask for it and they never provide it, that's because they don't have it and it must be dismissed. That's just another reason why it would be dismissed. So for 2 years, I would have been leaning on that. I mean, if I was going to lean on anything, I would have been
Actually, you can ask for the delegation of authority, but I'm already telling you, I already know you're never going to get it because you're not dealing with any government. It's just part of the strategy. Ask for that which they can never have because the case law is already, actually, you almost don't even have to ask for that, really. I mean, you can ask for it because it beefs up your affidavit, your sworn affidavit, because the case law is already there. They are dealing in statutes. All right, we read the case law thing tonight, or it's on the website. They're dealing in statutes. The case law says that if they're dealing in statutes, then they're ministerial officers. They're dealing in an administrative venue, and they do not have any judicial authority. And anything that they say or do is a nullity. That's the case law. That case law just told you that they are a private or profit corporation, and when they violate your liberties, you need to sue them.
All right. How do I sue them?
Well,
how does my brother
tell you over the phone?
All right. Islam. Thank you.
All right.
And definitely the Sixth Amendment, it sounds like, too, with that situation.
The Sixth Amendment, too?
Yeah.
I give...
the jurisprudence of the speedy trial clause. But again, you can't have a trial in the court that's not competent.
Okay.
And that's really it. But the jurisprudence of time, there's maxims about delays and things of that nature, how it could prejudice things, evidence gets lost. All of those things is just an unfair situation 2 years later. Just wanted to add that on. Yep.
Can they switch the DAs on the trial?
Look,
What's
the
coming up?
so-called DA prosecutor, that is that's like a strategy, because see, the so-called DA or prosecutor is not relevant.
Islam, all right.
All right? They don't have first-hand knowledge. They were not there. All right?
Yeah, I get. Oh, sorry.
All right? They have no standing at law. They become a party to the fraud.
Islam. Oh, we got them too.
That's why he walked out. That's why he walked out.
He walked. I gave him 30 days. I gave him 30 days to respond.
30 days? No. You give your peers in a contract that you entered into for something 30 days, but these people alleging to be government, you give them 3 days. Because here's the thing. Let me give you a real good analogy. All right. If you walk into an establishment that sells food, what must they have on the wall?
Oh, the authority that their place is clean and stuff like that to do their business.
Their food license. Their food license. It must be visible. The same thing applies.
Islam.
You don't give them no 30 days. They're supposed to be able to pull it up. It's supposed to be hanging on the wall.
Right. Oh, all right. I see. Yeah, I only got. He basically got 3 days, and they really trying to adjudicate him.
Mm-hmm. Well, look, we are at the place where everybody's being forced to make change. You gotta run. You cannot walk. You better run to catch up and jump on the train, because it's moving. It ain't slowing down. It's speeding up.
Sure.
What about the rid of this a notice of default judgment?
I'm sorry, what?
A notice of default. Can I put that in?
There's the notice of default is the second stage. Usually, in law, all offers must be accepted or rebutted in 3 days.
Oh, it's Islam. So the first stage is the averment then, right, of quantum?
Averment of jurisdiction, quo warranto. It's on the website. On day number 7, that's notice of default, and on day number 10, that's default.
Okay, day number 10 is default. Okay, default judgment. All right.
But you gotta be able to express in the default why they defaulting and what the damages are, and the damages have to correlate with the American Constitution 1791. You can't be talking about no code. I mean, the codes come in, your what do you call it? Your true bill section. This is the relief you want. And usually your relief ought to be that these people are removed and can no longer injure anybody else, because they're injuring everybody.
All right.
So, and also, just one last thing, in the concept of time really being on the table with the situation, because they try to use time as a weapon as well.
Yes.
You got to go back ab initio as well, which is from the beginning, you know, because a thing void in the beginning does not become valid by lapse of time. Okay. And that's a maxim of law. So if it's void in the beginning, you know, the accusatory instrument, all of these things, you know, the venue jurisdiction, all of that does not become valid by a lapse of time. So again, you know, keep that in mind.
Islam.
It's a time game, you know what I mean? And also keep in mind, too, the etymology of jurisprudence is foreseeing. So, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Dealing with the time is in that arena, fam. It's law and jurisprudence. You know what I mean? International law.
Okay.
Sixth Amendment, too. Yep.
Islam. All right. Thank you for your time, brothers and sisters.
Peace and love.
Right.
Peace and love. I love y'all. All right. Peace.
Love you too.
Y'all travel safely.
All right.
Wow.
So, caller 803-290, you are live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwestern Exum.
This is Tarsa Sin Jorel calling near Orangeburg, South Carolina Corporation. Peace and love.
Islam.
Peace and love.
Islam, how y'all doing? I got a question. We all know that the banks can't own property. We all know that the so-called Federal Reserve notes or promissory notes are, you know, can't pay off debts or anything. So with property, is it best to just like go into our communities and just, let's say, just claim a property, or do you just go along with the fraud until you really understand it? I mean, I understand it a little, but when you really understand it, then you get rid of the fraud?
Well, you ain't going to get rid of the fraud. They're going to be frauds. I mean, eventually they'll be gotten rid of when we stop buying into them and stuff like that. But, you know, to answer your question, if you understand what your status is and without, you know, a bunch of detail over the line about that, just look up peaceable possession, then know what your status is.
Okay. What was that again?
Peaceable possession. Not
Peaceable
adverse.
possession.
Yeah, not adverse, not reverse, not none of that. Just peaceable possession. And there's a Sora. I don't know if we have it on the site, but just look that up and you'll see. It has nothing to do with anyone except for you. And remember chapter, 47? It says that we are the true possessors.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But we may not be in possession, because you got to know that in your mind first. And, you know, and this being our ancestral state. And then look up peaceable possession and you'll see. But I would say that, especially at this time, if anybody, if they have to go into, or if they, for whatever reason, decide to go into the death grip, the mortgage, all of it is absolute fraud. It's that most of those who already have, they've been bailed out. That means the house is already paid for, but it's the lack of knowledge, and then the going back into contracts, and especially those at that time when the mortgage fraud hit, you know, they knew about this and they had you do a modification. That means they were having you recontract back into what they knew was about to bust. But you look that up, and then you'll see. You'll see what you can do.
Okay, yes, because I was just trying to rebuild a lot of our communities, because a lot of our communities was boarded up and just grass growing everywhere and all that, and I know we could rebuild it.
Well, you know, right, and so if you look into that, so those buildings are boarded up. A lot of them are boarded up. Aside from any condemnation that might exist, they're boarded up because they were foreclosed on, and then they boarded them up, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that means if you look up that, you will find that it doesn't say in the state records that it was foreclosed on. It says they were abandoned.
Yes.
Right?
Okay.
Oh,
yes.
All right. And possession is non-intent to the law. That's the other thing you need to know, to be in possession. So there you go right there, because the foreclosure, all of that was fraud. So it can't go into the state records as a foreclosure, because that was just a separate side thing that people bought into fraudulently.
Yes.
Absolutely.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Peace.
Peace and love, Islam.
Islam.
All right, Islam. All right, caller. Let's see. 972-839. You're live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwest Mexican. Caller 972-839. All right. Caller 804-921. You're live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwest Mexican.
Yes, this is our brother Azad Afran Bey.
Islam.
Islam. Yeah, I was listening to that caller before the last. He was talking about that case. I know I did something for my sister. I sent a writ of nature of discovery, and I was sharing with her that she has to get more information because she has a little information, but she's not she doesn't study. So when I sent that writ of nature of discovery, helping her out, we actually gave the courts. I know you all said 3 days, but we gave them 10 days. And with that, I was listening to Miz just now, and he did make sense with the with the Sixth Amendment, also with the Fifth Amendment, where it says no person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment of an indictment. And I don't think that any of them have gotten an indictment. So it's a whole lot to this thing right here. It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. But they never answered to my sister. So I told her, I said, hey, we gave them 10 days. They didn't answer. She didn't even go to court, and she hasn't heard anything else back from them. But what I told her is she needs to really study, because if they do come after her, I've done my part to help and give her a lot of information, but she has to study for herself.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then the other part, like I said, you always talking about the IRS, and so it stuck out to me more is because my wife, she gets prescription, and the thing is that I talked to Cujo about this a while back, but it was with another company. The Walgreens, they have a sign up, and they say, well, you can't get the prescription unless you use a state ID or government issue ID. So I started digging in more into the Black Laws Dictionary and another app that I have. It's called the law.com app. And the word state, it really intrigued me because that word, that means our state, our government. We have created our own state of mind, and that whole definition of state, they don't even understand what it means. They think that it means the United States. So I gave the young lady some information, as far as in a Pharmacy Act, that it says that, they're supposed to take our identification, and if they never seen me before, they're supposed to make a photocopy of it and keep it in their records for 30 days. So she's telling me, well, you can't use your identification, but our identification is a state identification because it's our state, it's our governmental identification.
That's right. But here's the other thing, and this is something that we need to think about. If she's standing there, why does she need some form of identification? She's standing there. Now, if she sent you and she wrote a note or something, I would think that the note should have her credentials on it in some way, shape, or form that is proving that, okay, she sent you and she authorized you, and this is her likeness, as well as her credentials. But they're really getting really carried away and out of hand. I mean, they've been out of hand with this whole identification thing, because if you're standing right there, why would you need to bring a likeness of yourself to prove you are who you say you are? They're in the they're sitting there and they're saying they're providing a service. All right, well then provide the service, take the damn income, and leave me alone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the service is not supposed to give them the right to gain your private and confidential information, because the other part to that that's really, really strange is they get to know everything about you, but you don't know nothing about them.
Yes.
That's a corporation violating the liberties of the people. What reason do you need to give them some piece of paper that shows your likeness? What reason? You see, because the presumption is you're a liar. And I need you to prove that you are who you say you are, because you're a liar. That's an insult. I mean, that's the way I look at it. You know, because they all do it. Oh, I need you to show identification. Why? I'm standing right here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what would be the reason? I mean, it might be something to, you know, like send a little anonymous, you know, writ, a little letter asking, please advise why I need to have something on me that has my likeness and credentials to prove I am who I am when I am standing right there.
I think Mike can answer that. I think on that policy that they created, it was just the Pharmacy Act. It says that
don't go there. See, a Pharmacy Act. First of all, they're saying it's a pharmacy. Where's the paper? Where's the documentation? Tell them to give you a copy of the law, because they're saying this is the law. Well, you need a copy of the law in its entirety so you can review it, see if it applies to you.
For sure.
But if it's a policy, it's not law.
But I would ask for a copy of it because, that's prima facie evidence that you can use to sue them, because now they're violating your liberty, and then they're trying to say it's a law. There is no law. Here's a huge clue. There's no law on this continent or on this planet that says employees of a corporation can dictate the actions of the people. And until they can produce that law, they cannot make these demands of the people. That's why we have to get into the habit of saying, I need a copy of the law in its entirety so that I can review it for my own knowledge and posterity.
Sure. And you know what, though, Anna E, and everybody, fam, if you remember, this is even more proof that the quote-unquote medical industry are in conspiracy with the quote-unquote states, like to even deny somebody, you know, that assistance based off of a quasi-identification card. You know what I mean? As far as license or state ID or whatever, you know.
Well, it's not the state. It's not the state, because we can put the state of whatever at the top of our writs and send it out. It still don't make the state a party. They
right.
Do
well,
that
yeah. I mean, in that particular situation, no. Right. Yeah. No, for sure. But I'm saying, let me clarify myself. With the quasi-national domiciles that be, you know, what they are, quasi, you know, not real. It's not a game that it's a monopoly going on, that they have their hands in more than what's appeared to be, to say the least. Because if you go back, you know what I mean, there was a corporation called Rexall, which is why it was the RX on those old prescriptions. but they have a lot of subdivision corporations that's family orientated, you know, in different industries, you know, sports, you know, doctor, material, things of that nature. You know what I mean? And what I'm saying is, for example, if you look at lesson book number 2, it's the vaccination. You know, the doctors working hand in hand. If they try to take somebody to the county, the first thing they want to do is administer a shot. You know what I mean? All of these different aspects. That's what I was really getting at. So pardon me, on that level, no, but they definitely, you know, have their hands in it back, like you were saying, extortion and things of that nature.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was just basically when I was saying about the Pharmacy Act. I had gave the pharmacy tech. I gave her some information, and I told her, I said, well, I don't want you to get sued personally yourself, because she remembered me from past. So what I basically was explaining to her is that my so-called DMV identification will be expiring on my birthday, and I'm not going to renew that. You know, so I'm going full force with this whole thing, and it's like, and it's a good thing that you all are talking about this, because we have to start suing these people, because they've been getting away with it too long. They've been getting away too long, and it's that time.
Yes, past time. Well,
Sure.
Thank you so much for your call.
Yes.
All right,
Islam.
peace.
Wow.
All righty. Caller 917202, you're live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwest Maxim. Caller 917202. All right. Caller 972-839, you're live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwest Maxim. Caller 972-839. All right. Caller 803-290, you're live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwest Maxim.
Islam, it was me again. My phone be acting up. It be going in and out.
All right. No problem. No problem. This is our last caller. Caller 267-353. You're live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwest Maxim.
Islam is our same day. Northwest
Oh,
Maxim.
Islam.
Islam.
Oh, I got to call you, Asim. I got your message. I will call you. I apologize.
Okay, and we send off a letter in the mail to you also. It camelback the letter we already sent.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, I wanted to go in because I know there's not too much time left. To the caller that called a couple calls that's been going back and forth to court or to these tribunals, is that, and for all of us, we got to understand, if you're going into these tribunals, you have to go into these tribunals with what? Your eyes wide open, with eyes to see and ears to hear, because you can be sitting, especially when you knew it, this hit, and you feel strong enough to go in there and challenge the jurisdiction. But and understand what you're doing, too, when we're talking about jurisdiction and what you challenge. Actually, you going in there standing on your square, all right? So you going in there with the fact, even when you send your paperwork is preceding you, what we find out, I've been to these tribunals in Saluda County, South Carolina, Philadelphia, Delaware, Arizona. This is what I've been doing in the last 6 months, going in to these tribunals and watching what's going on and listening to what's going on. And I'm seeing that when individuals is going into these tribunals, the judge comes out, he don't even say his name. He comes out everybody stands up, then they sit down, and he goes right in, and he'll call you, so-and-so Bay. Oh, before he call you, he'll give this little spiel to the court that this court was established such and such, and we're under such and such state constitution and the U.S. Constitution. Remember, you have to have ears to hear the U.S. Constitution, and that's the jurisdiction we're under today. Okay, we want to proceed. So-and-so Bay come up. Are you ready to proceed? If you're not studied, you start stumbling. I see brothers and sisters start stumbling. No, I'm not ready to proceed. You have, first of all, he already hit you with what jurisdiction you're in. You didn't rebut it. You didn't rebut it. You didn't make clear when he said the U.S. Constitution. You have to understand what he's saying. He said the state constitution. For instance, one of the rebuttals might be at that time when he called you up, ready to proceed. Yes, I would like to proceed. But first, let's establish one thing. Let's get one thing clear. What constitution did you just say? And be comfortable with yourself, because I'm here with the United States Constitution, Organic Constitution of 1791. Is that what you're speaking of when you speak of the U.S. Constitution, my honor? And get it clear and talk like that, because this is what they're doing. And then they will proceed. Then they'll call a so-called officer up to give a statement. And the so-called prosecutor sit right next to him and question the officer, and they go on and on and on. Then they'll turn to the Moor and say, do you have any questions for the officer? Now, the first thing, you have to have eyes to see, ears to hear. They didn't swear the officer in under no oath. You're there under the state of, and so you, in your mind, you should understand that unless that officer swore oath and is there to represent the state, then it's corpus delicti. You have to understand that you have to be when you was talking the injured party. All right, where's the injured party? You saying it's the state, and you got this officer here with some hearsay. You know, and so to that brother that's been going back and forth to court, and you brought up another thing about the person don't be there, the so-called accused party don't be there, but you come there and you might have been studying and you knew with this thing, and you're nervous, you're looking around, you're still not clear on certain things. And one of the things that I've been learning going and sitting in these tribunals is they teaching you everything that you need to know. The judges, you'll bring up some constitutional matter, and the judge will say to you, well, we're not here for that. Letting you know you're in the wrong court. You bring up another situation, oh, no, I'm not here, or we're not entertaining that right now. Or he might even say, you're in the wrong court for that. And so you really have to pay attention to everything they saying. And a lot of times when you come in there, and I wanted to bring this up because Annie Eve said this before, was something in the on the internet, a question about somebody says, I'm not into all that Moorish legal stuff. Well, there's only two things going on the continent. There's only two things going on the continent, and that's the seal and the eagle. So if you ain't into it, you're into something else. And I want to read this real quick. It's from a book I got at a Goodwill for $2.50. Business Law book, Part 1, Introduction to Law Contracts, Chapter 1, Introduction to Law, page 1. The importance of law. Law concerns the relations of individual human beings with one another and the conduct of individuals as it affects others and the social and economic order. It is the product of civilization and the means whereby civilization is maintained and conditions favorable to its future progress are made secure. We're talking about law. The importance of law needs no brief or argument. Activities of all individuals throughout their lives are continually guided and influenced by it. Now let's do Blackstone, the English jurist, firmly believes that a competent knowledge of the laws of one country is the proper accomplishments of every gentleman and scholar and is almost as a central part of a liberal education. He bemoans the fact that whereas in Cicero's time, young boys learned the principles of Roman law by heart, and in continental countries, no education was complete without considerable study of the laws of one's native land. Yet Englishmen were then largely ignorant of the great common law. Likewise, the average American, while often knowledgeable in many areas, is generally uninformed with respect to the legal system, which profoundly affects his everyday life. The legal system interacts and influences the political, economic, and social systems of every civilized society. When a society functions peacefully, effectively, and prosperously, its legal system is the primary cause. When a society appears to break down, it may be the result of the abuse, corruption, and malfunction of its legal system. As every civilized society is founded upon law, and none has ever survived without law or without any efficient legal system. Hence, the beginning of all progress and improvements in any society must be based upon the understanding of the purpose and necessity of law, a knowledge of some of the fundamental principles, and a comprehension of the legal system whereby the law is formulated and made effective. The law is persuasive, it permits, forbids, and regulates or moderates practically every known human activity and affects all persons either directly or indirectly. Without law, there is no guarantee of liberty and freedom of the individual. And I just wanted to make that point where some people, when Annie, it touched me a couple of shows ago. I was trying to get in when somebody in the on the internet said, well, they don't want to deal with that law, and don't want to deal with that Moorish stuff. And there's only two sales going on, and this law and the legal system is affecting your life every single day in every part of your life. And if you're ignorant to it, then you're in an ignorant situation in the things that comes about and happen to you, you know. And so I just wanted to stress that point, come in. And for that brother, I'm quite sure if it's been going on for 2 years, and if it's something that, for instance, the DUI, which a lot of these, the several states are really getting serious about, even with their own people, and they haven't kidnapped him and did something. He's doing something right, but he's not really looking and listening at what's going on. And then, like that continued study, like you say, you have to go ahead and remove that, and you have the power to do that. And that magistrate and that judge is just waiting for you to do that. Islam.
True.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that concludes the broadcast of the phone.
Caller, let me help you.
My landlord won't fix my washing machine.
Go to AT&T.
Huh?
When you have AT&T Wireless and DirecTV, you can get unlimited data. Then you can enjoy your favorite DirecTV shows on your phone while you're at the laundromat.
Sweet.
Sweet indeed. AT&T